Welcome to the beautiful Lake Tahoe.
Can you believe that view? Is that not the most amazing thing ever?
Oh, it's amazing. So we thought this was the perfect backdrop to do a Q&A and answer your questions. Why? Because the entire family is together. It's
Carson
so
and Tori
exciting.
flew in, and we were able to go skiing with them, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we realized that we haven't done a Q&A since we were up in Whistler, Canada, August 2017.
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, and this is a long overdue video because there were so many questions. We went to Facebook and Instagram. We asked what questions you have.
Yes.
We received over 600 questions.
Thank you so much for taking your time to write in and let us know what's on your mind. The number one question is, was the teardrop a mistake? And we are excited to answer that for you today. One of the other questions that we realized we hadn't answered
is, did we sell the F450 and the Toy Hauler?
Yes.
There were a lot of questions about the kids. How are Tori and Carson doing?
Yes.
People want to know how our travel, at least when all the kids were with us, how it shaped them as like they kind of left the nest, which I thought was a really good question.
Totally cool. Another one was about finances. How did you get prepared to go on this epic journey?
If we knew what we know now, would we do anything differently? So that's a great question. We have an answer for that. And of course, where does Charlie sleep?
I was going to say that.
Charlie and I are working hard to make it warm in here.
Okay, I can tell what's happening with Charlie. He's sleeping in here with us, huh? Okay. All right, so that's a lot to cover. This is going to be a doozy of a video. Let's just get started.
Yay.
Oh my gosh. My wife and I follow you every Sunday at 5.
Oh, that's funny. Yes.
Can I interest you in anything?
the driver's seat, maybe.
Very cool.
Oh yeah. I'm exhausted already. I'm not sure why everything this season is all about survival.
It's the winter, babe.
Okay, Caleb. Somebody asked if you were lonely. Now that Carson and Tori are
I
gone.
have my phone to keep me company. I have my Alexa.
How is Alexa?
She's great. We're doing great.
So behind us is Pine Lodge. A lot of history here if you're into that kind of thing. Well, actually, there's a lot of history in Tahoe in general.
Everywhere.
In fact, I would share with you a lot of the history here if this wasn't a Q&A video. It has nothing to do with the fact that I don't know any of the history of it. It has all to do with the fact that I'm trying to stay on topic, right?
That's right.
Let's answer the first question over here, shall we?
Yes.
Okay, so for this episode, we're going to answer the questions as we go around to different parts of Lake Tahoe. And in the lower corner, I'm going to put the location of each place, because there are some places in Tahoe that you must visit.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's get started with the top 3 questions.
Okay.
Did we sell the F450 and the Toy Hauler? What RV is next? And do we think that the teardrop was a mistake?
It's a burning hot question.
I mean, people ask the question in a lot of different ways. Do you regret the teardrop?
Yes.
It looks cold. Are you sure? You know, there are a lot of different versions of that question, but we want to answer it. So let's start with F450 and Toy Hauler. It was kind of sudden. We got back to Arizona, and the first thing we had to do is move everything out of it and bring it into the cabin. I just can't even believe
huge job.
how much stuff you pick up along the way.
Yes, big tub from like Target.
I do.
You do?
Yeah, the firewood right there.
Good. That's perfect.
Grab that thing and everything that goes to the next rig, whatever it's going to be.
Right.
Then we'll go in the shed.
Okay.
Just make sure it's going to freeze this winter. So just make sure that it's fine.
Even when you have downsized and you feel like you are like on the peak of the minimalist movement. Plug in this chair.
Yes.
You could go on a trip for a few months and be like, how did I end up with all of this?
This isn't going to be too bad because we've recently organized it. So we just have a bunch of bags and guns. And we'll get, and slingshots, and air horns, and shoes, and files. So I'm going to do this next.
So we did the process of moving out, and then Trish said, why don't you just put the RV on RV Trader and just see what happens. Within the first 48 hours, I had 5 offers. And then there was a couple that sent an email, and they said, we've been following you guys since the podcast days, and every time I see the Toy Hauler and F450 on the channel, I say to my wife, that's what I want. And now I see this on RV Trader. My wife said I could send you an email, and so they were just the perfect choice.
He was checking RV Trader every day for 6 months, and then all of a sudden our rig came up. He was like,
the one he wanted.
No way.
Yes. So I'm gonna miss backing up this beast. All right, Trish, hop in, let's go.
Okay.
So anyway, we went over to Lazy Days in Tucson. We took care of all the remaining warranty work. We had it professionally cleaned and detailed.
You definitely...
Smells so good. It's clean.
This is seriously big.
This rig?
You're right. This was a mistake.
This was a mistake coming in here. We should not have come back in. It's gorgeous.
And then we booked a site in Scottsdale for the night so that we can spend the entire day with them, just going through all the systems and practicing backing up.
But you can store things here. Like I put the stools upside down right here. Okay, or I'll lay them down in there. But everything when you drive that you put down here just slides, crams against those walls.
Someone asked if I was grieving the F450. Maybe more like, how is the grieving going actually? And it's going okay. I joined a group with other former F450 drivers, and we're supporting each other. It's going good. Day by day. Day by day. We want to pop on over to Emerald Bay?
Yeah.
Okay, here we are at Emerald Bay. Wait, hold on. I'm blocking the Hermit's Castle. If you didn't see our episode where we were out here in the summertime, Trish and I hiked up to that island at Emerald Bay to go see the Hermit's Castle, go check it out. So, all right, the question now is, which RV is next? If you would have asked me 2 weeks ago if we were gonna get a motorized RV, I would have said 100%. That's one of the reasons why we got the Jeep and the Teardrop, so that we can go tow the Jeep next season. Over the past couple weeks, I've really been diving deep into like which direction we might go and looking at repairs and maintenance, total cost of ownership, depreciation, everything that should be a consideration when you get any RV. And I'm like 50-50 now.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Well, now I'm only concerned what you think.
Charlie would like it.
Charlie likes everything.
Anyone who has shopped for their RV knows that it is equal parts exciting as daunting.
It is.
And so you really need to weigh those pros and cons. And some of the pros are overwhelming on both sides, and some of the cons, of course, are size on the Airstream side and depreciation on the motorized RV side. So that is what we are considering. There's a lot of things to consider. And so everything's still on the table.
Now let's talk about the burning question. Was the Teardrop a mistake?
Hot.
There were some really legitimate reasons of why we wanted to do this.
Yes.
And family and being in Arizona during the winter was one of those big reasons.
Right. We wanted to be weekend warriors because there is a huge part of our audience that are campers, weekend warriors. They go out twice a year. They're not full-timers. And what I like to say all the time is that memories are not reserved for full-time RVers. They are for the people who go out and make them happen. So we wanted to have a piece of that and figure out, what is it like to pack up an RV and to go out for a few days all the time. And then when we're home, we got to be close to our family and our friends. And Victoria and Carson was able to fly in from school several times. So anyway, it really has given us a lot of pros, even though teardropping is more challenging for us than regular RVing, just because when you get out of bed, you're out in the cold.
Well, those are some of the things that we really didn't consider. Like Arizona and Florida are great places to hang out in the winter. New Zealand's even better. But we didn't really consider that Arizona at 6 a.m. is still pretty cold.
Yes.
We also really didn't consider that when we're traveling in the Teardrop, we are 100% camping and we're not working at all. And that's been kind of a disadvantage and a bit of a struggle this season, is that when we're out, beautiful campsites, completely alone, we love that, but we're getting zero work done.
Right.
And so that's been a little bit hard. But I mean, overall, this was kind of designed to be a short season anyway, and it also was designed so that we would actually have time to find our next RV.
Right.
We learned that when we switched from the Reflection to the Momentum in Florida, that changing RVs while being full-time and on the road is very difficult. So we said the next time we do this, let's be at home so we actually have time, and that was a big consideration.
Yeah.
So the season was designed to be short. I think it possibly could be even shorter because we wanted to go up in Colorado, and I'm starting to do some research. Colorado doesn't thaw until like late June.
Right.
So there's a chance that we might actually be getting whatever's next sooner and then going to Colorado in that. So the other thing, if you've been following KYD for a long time, you realize that Carson doesn't show up very often. And so I found a very compelling way to get some answers from him.
I'm not going until you have a seatbelt on.
All right, we're headed off to Dave's ski shop so we can get some ski rentals. And I've turned the camera on because Carson's driving, and I feel like because I'm letting Carson drive, and because I bought him this ridiculous hat today, that he would
Ridiculous? Ridiculous. Is that what we're doing now?
I thought that because of those two factors, that Carson would participate more in a short interview. Am I right? Yeah. All right. So let's just knock this out. You're turning left, but watch both ways. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. So let's just what? You got directions?
Does not work.
Okay, I know how to get
Turn on the plug. Turn on the plug.
Okay, first question, how are things going at Culver Military Academy?
Things are going pretty swell.
How are the grades? How are the grades?
Grades are keeping up.
Okay, you still want to go to the Air Force Academy?
Still want to go to the Air Force Academy. That's definitely a goal.
Okay, you still want to fly planes?
Still want to fly my sweet old F-35.
Yeah, you see, he says, my sweet old F-35. So you're taking ownership of the fighter jet.
Yep.
If for some crazy reason you don't fly F-35s?
There's no crazy reason.
Okay. Okay, so a lot of people were wondering if, do you watch the videos?
No.
No. Do you think if you did watch them, you'd get like homesick or lonely or something?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I think you've watched a couple and you've said that you have.
Yeah. Well, no, that was only when I was in summer and you guys were all up in Alaska.
Wait, we were in Alaska. Where were we?
Yeah, when I was in
yeah,
summer.
that's right. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
I saw
right.
those blue ice little things.
Okay.
I was like, oh, okay.
How is it? I imagine a lot of people are wondering, you know, going away for high school. You're 16.
Right, straight.
Go left. Being 16 and being away from high school, a lot of people would think that that would be like you'd get homesick or something. How's that going?
No, it's going good. This man's license plate is no can D.
No can D.
Right.
What's that mean?
No can do.
No can do. So you're not really, that's not a big factor?
No, it's not.
Of course, we see you almost every month because of holidays and things like this, right?
And I have a tight friend group there. So
you have a tight friend group.
Tight, not a loose one.
Okay, well, as you know, if you've been watching KYD from the beginning, Carson is a rare commodity for KYD. So there you go, there you have it.
Okay, so we're out not snowshoeing because these are actually harder to walk in than just our boots.
Well, it's hard packed. So we got about 1,000 yards and Trish says, why are we walking in these? I'm like, okay, let's take them off.
Okay, so one question that we get quite often, knowing what we know now, would we have done it again? But I want to presence that question real quick. Nobody gets to know now.
Yeah.
They only get to make decisions with the information they have, and you take your best shot.
Yeah.
That's all we get.
Well, and tell them what General Mark Wise said.
General Mark Wise, who is a friend of KYD, and actually wrote a beautiful letter to our son Carson at school, and he said, do your research, find out if you're doing what you want to do because you want to do it, not because other people chose it for you, and once you pick your path, go. He said, don't look back. Do it with all that you've got and do the best you can.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the advice. If you want to go do something, make the best decision you can and go for it. The worst thing that could happen is it could fall apart and you find out that wasn't really what I wanted.
Yeah.
And that's not that bad.
It's
and
not that bad.
usually that's not what happens.
And if you don't take that chance and you don't take that leap, then a few years down the road, you'll always wonder what it would have been like. And that often is everyone's biggest regret, is the things that they didn't do.
Yeah.
So the question is, would we do anything differently again? There is one thing we'd probably do a little bit differently.
Yes.
We're going to give you a little bit update on the KYD Cabin, but that's a place that we bought so we can put on the vacation rental market so that it wasn't costing us money when we were traveling. And Trish said that we probably would have done that first.
Yes. So when Victoria went off to school, I started freaking out a little bit because I was like, we don't have a home. Where are we all going to meet up for holidays? And so we started looking into something that we could afford if we were only there for a few short months a year. We rented it out the rest of the time. So I wish we would have done that sooner, actually from day one, instead of just putting everything in storage and not being part of the marketplace. So anyway, that's
Well, I also think that the first year of full-time and the first 2 years of full-time, you're so busy and it's also exciting. When it gets hard, and it will get hard, having a place that you know you can go back to, if the market changes or if health changes, just mentally knowing that you have that place set for you to go back to is very reassuring and has a lot of peace of mind when you're out on the road. So we see a lot of people, sometimes they ask in about what they should do, and this is not real estate or financial advice in any means, but it's just something to consider. Maybe if you have a big house that isn't rentable, maybe you could downsize into a house that's perfect for the rental market.
Yes.
And then go, but know you have a place. So
Again, we are not financial advisors.
No, we are
or
not.
your real estate agent.
Okay, so a lot of questions about Tori and how Tori is doing. So Tori and I went out for a cup of coffee and I had a chance to catch up with her.
In the morning over coffee, threw my heart on the table, told you what
I've got Tori alone. We're going out to get a little coffee because that's what she does. Even though we brew coffee, she goes out in the morning to get coffee. So we're going to take the Jeep. Tori. Tori's driving. And you had some questions for Tori.
I'm here to answer those questions.
And I'm gonna ask you a few questions, and then Mom's got a few questions for you too. Jeep's over there. Okay. Freezing.
25 degrees to be exact.
Okay.
Below freezing.
First question, Tori. Everybody,
Oh wow, we're going right at it.
Everybody wants to know, what are you studying? Where are you going to school?
Ooh. Can I get the directions going first?
No.
No? Okay. I'll just take this time to warm up.
No, can't turn on the heat too loud or ruin the audio. Welcome back.
Oh, that's really funny. I am studying graphic design and photography at Los Angeles Film School.
Online.
Online. All online.
So she's not living in LA.
Living in Phoenix.
Yes. Okay, cool. Well, now I let you get the directions and we'll get on our way, and I'll ask you your next question.
Okay.
Yes, but that was the big one. Everyone wanted to know what you're studying and stuff like that. The questions get progressively harder.
Okay. Good to know.
We have arrived at North Star. We're gonna go grab a little cup of coffee, but before we get out of the Jeep, I wanted to ask you here, and you can answer on the way.
Okay.
When you watch the videos, a few people ask this, when you watch the videos, do you like miss traveling, or do you get kind of nostalgic when you're seeing your family off traveling and you're back at home?
That's a good question.
Let's go.
He's taking lots of notes, telling me I'm making progress. I broke everything. I'm a zombie on the sidewalk, stumbled into strangers.
It depends on the video. I will leave your videos to binge at a later date, because if I just consistently watch them, I'll feel like I'm missing out. But I'm also on the phone with you every day, so I know what's happening.
Okay. Do you miss traveling?
Yes. Oh yeah.
You do?
I like traveling.
Okay. They ever make you sad at all?
What's that? Literally, rarely.
Rarely?
They have, but rarely.
Like the really good ones?
Like the really good ones, and I'll be sitting there with a friend watching it, and your cinematography is just so good. And we're all like,
thanks. Well, I'll tell you what, we were in the Red Rocks just a couple episodes ago, and Tori's like, you went to the 7 Magic
Mountains
sculpture thing, and
I know.
And we're like, so it's not the episodes you would think that Tori's super interested in. All right, there's Starbucks. So this is a question that was inspired in Starbucks. They had a little wall of all the things that people were grateful for.
And on this wall, there's a little sticky note that said Dutch Bros inside the Starbucks.
It's a good question. It's spontaneous, but what are you grateful for, Tori?
I am grateful that I get to pop on all your little adventures still.
Yes? You mean make cameos?
Yeah.
Yes.
And fly out to wherever you are. And that I got to go traveling for almost 3 years.
Nice. Another question that's spontaneous is, do you ever feel awkward, Mark, holding a camera and talking to it in public?
You get used to it.
Yes.
Come sit down.
Okay.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. She's so cute.
Oh, I'm so cold.
Okay, so
Here we have questions.
yes, well, I think that anything you do in life, there's trade-offs. You
That's
get
true.
pros and cons. But normally you don't get all the pros and none of the cons, right?
Yes.
There's trade-offs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you skipped the last 2 years of your high school experience.
Pro.
So tell me, because you are very much
know, there might be pros and there might be cons, but to me it's looking like I skipped my upperclassmen years pro, and then I got to go travel bigger pro.
very nice. Okay, but you are very much a people person. So how did you continue to incorporate that? Because, hanging out with mom, dad, and your brothers is awesome. But you also...
Got a lot of stories with mom, dad, and brothers.
Yes. But how did you incorporate, like, staying in touch with your friends, doing cool things?
Lots of FaceTime.
Lots of FaceTime. And then you also went to, like, dances.
Yeah. I flew home from Mexico to go to our winter formal.
It's getting chillier.
It is. Okay, so big question.
So beautiful.
Isn't it though? The big question was, what's the update on the KYD Cabin? And so if you're not familiar with the KYD Cabin, when we got back from Alaska season 5, we bought a cabin and we did a renovation.
In 90 days. Our new kitchen.
kitchen, and I want to do an official public apology to everyone on behalf of my wife that I do not listen to her enough.
Oh, this feels so good. Right here.
Okay, no, don't do that. Don't do that. It's not quite everything, the glue and everything.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are those appropriate shoes for a demo day?
Listen.
Yes.
You are not helping with the commentary on YouTube regarding safety, okay?
I'm trying to hold this straight.
And there were a lot of reasons why we did that. Do you want to share a few?
One of them was because our oldest, Victoria, went off to school, and I realized, oh my goodness, I have nowhere to make a Thanksgiving dinner, to have a Christmas morning, and I kind of freaked out a little bit. As soon as everyone started leaving the RV, I was like, how are we going to bring everybody back together?
Yeah.
And so that was one of the main reasons. The other reason was to get our foot back in the market, to make sure that we weren't missing an opportunity to have an asset. But we knew that we only wanted to be back there like 30, 60, maybe 90 days ever out of the whole entire year. And we wanted it to be something that was in a place that had multiple seasons that we could rent out while we were not there. So essentially we VRBO it, but it's separate. It's not
Well, what's interesting is we've only done it through the KYD community.
Yes.
And it's been renting out about 3 times a month on average. Not entirely paying for itself, but we also don't mention it very much. When we leave for next season, we're going to take it a little bit more seriously and actually put it on the VRBO market and increase the rate a little bit, and it will most likely just pay for itself. That way we are a little bit more sustainable when we're traveling and we don't have a place back there.
Look at how pretty.
Look at how gorgeous this is. Oh my gosh.
Look at this. Look, go turn.
I was going so fast on this last run, and I get to the bottom of the lift, and Carson, I turn around and Carson is right there, like Mr. Deeds, right there. Behind us is the beautiful Lake Tahoe. Here comes Trish. Okay, we have a question that Tina Burns asked, which I think is pretty interesting. She said, and at first I was like, okay, well that's flattering. I didn't think we'd actually answer it, but it's how do we stay so positive? That was the question. You tired today?
I've done more just nature viewing than hardcore skiing.
It is beautiful up here, isn't it?
Yes, but that kind of introduces what you were thinking.
Well, here's what I was thinking. Trish, we were recently interviewed on Mike Winland's podcast, RV Lifestyles. And at the end, I mentioned something that Trish is very good at, and that is she lets everybody on the trip have their own trip.
Yes.
That if your kids want to be on the cell phone, then let them be on the cell phone rather than just constantly harping on them like, oh, you should be outside, you should put that phone down, so that when you invite your kids out the next time, they're like, that's okay, I'll just stay at home.
Although everybody has their own needs.
Yes.
So when I feel like, oh gosh, I really would like XYZ, I make sure that I express it, because when usually, unless everybody's just in a bad mood, if you say, hey, I'd really love to go do this, I'd love to do this run, or at the end of the day, I really want to have hot chocolate, or something like that, everybody's like, oh, we have to stop because mom wants this.
Yes.
Or, because we're all kind of pitching in for each other. So, but these are best case scenarios. Every day isn't perfect.
That's right.
And we have to realize that real life is not perfect, and it's important to share that with our families so that when they go off on their own, they're not like, every day's a 10!
Yes.
And then they're like, wait, how do I deal with being sad?
Yes. There was a point in my life where we were on the first chair in the morning.
Yes,
okay?
there were no breaks.
There were no breaks. It was ski. But I realized as I've been getting a little older that you can wear your family out with that level of intensity. And now I would rather have the family come than not take any breaks. Isn't it though?
That's so nice.
And so think about that when you go out on your RV trips. Is it go, go, go right from the moment you get into the RV? No breaks. I have to go to the bathroom. No, we're not going to the bathroom until we get there. Or are you going to let everybody have their own trip? And I think
what's your payoff going to be?
Yes.
Ask yourself that.
And so I think that's one tip of how we've learned to keep it positive. So maybe the answer is just avoid being a tyrant.
All right, my positive
And you'll be in good shape.
people.
All right, on to the next question. Okay, so right now we're over here at the East Shore. This is where you get that classic Lake Tahoe picture.
You get postcard Tahoe.
Yes.
That's what you get right
the
here.
Clear water and the boulders, it is really beautiful. So if you when you come to Lake Tahoe, definitely make it over to the East Shore. In fact, when we were here in the summer, we went down to Chimney Beach. That's where they have like a little chimney on the beach.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah. Chimney Beach.
Yes.
So anyway, one of our biggest questions that we get almost every day, and especially when we ask, what are your questions, is how do we get financially ready to go on this epic adventure? And I think that's a huge question and a missing piece for a lot of people that want to go and spend some extended time on the road if you're not already retiring.
Yes. And I think that in order to properly answer the question, we need to go all the way back to 2003.
We got to do a rewind.
Yes, that's when Trish and I kind of went out on our own, so to speak. That's when we started doing our own businesses. So it means we've been self-employed for 17 years. So I think that was a little bit of a help to us, is that we were already doing our own businesses by the time we left. What we didn't have is the ability to be location independent.
Right.
So
someone always needed to see us or have a meeting, especially with this guy over here. And so we needed to figure out how to withdraw ourselves from that. And I think that's where the KYD podcast came in handy, because I was interviewing over 100 people and asking, hey, what do you do for a living? How did you get where you are? And what the heck's going on? And so I think the more that you can listen to podcasts and find out what are people doing from the road, because not everyone's retired and not everybody is location independent. Some people are flying out from different locations.
That's true.
And there's just so many ways to cut this pie.
People work for an employer, and then they ask that employer way in advance. They say, hey, if I hit these goals over the next 6 months or the next year, do you think I would be able to work from home? And then they do kind of the same approach, and they say, hey, look, if I hit these metrics or these benchmarks over the next 6 months to a year, do you think I'd be able to work remotely? And so you don't have to be necessarily self-employed, and you certainly don't have to be a YouTube creator to go hit the road.
Yes.
A lot of people are kind of curious what we do in the back, because people who have been watching since the very beginning know that we were in aviation and marketing. So I created a marketing company, which was awesome, and I really enjoyed it. But like Trish said, lots of meetings, lots of phone calls, lots of driving. And so I discovered that if I could create a service that did the same exact thing for the same exact customer or client, that we could take the business remotely. And so we transitioned the business to only work with orthopedic knee surgeons.
But that took a long time. That did not happen overnight. That took 2 years to do. And we had that idea before we necessarily thought, well, we're hitting the road.
We didn't even know about KYD at the time, but we knew that we wanted to have a business that was location independent, and I thought that that was the best strategy for me. So we ended up transitioning the business into kind of a medical marketing, which was great, because now when I brought in a new client that was an orthopedic surgeon, it was like flipping a switch. And so that was the business that we were running when we hit the road. And I would say, and so we've been on the road for 4 years. I'd say 2 years ago, KYD has been our only focus. So we don't, this is all we do now.
Yes, 100% times 10. It's what we do now.
In a way, I've said this before, like we left our 9 to 5 so that we can work 5 to 9 and sometimes 11. But I'm not complaining, because
it's been amazing.
We feel very grateful to be.
And the best part is when we ask a question like, what are your questions? We get 600 replies back. That's the coolest thing, is to hear from you. What are you going through? What are your questions? What are you trying to achieve? Or if you did it, and you write into us and you tell us these things. And that is the coolest thing I think I've ever experienced. And I'm I have a social work background. I've seen a lot of success stories, business. There's just nothing that compares to what this relationship is. And so we want to thank you, because this is beyond our wildest dreams or highest expectations, and it's something completely different than we would have ever thought we'd do.
Oh, we never set out
years
to go
and
do
years
this.
ago.
No.
We would never set out to do whatever it is that we're doing right now. I can't even describe it.
Couple buzzwords for you to be researching. Location independence is one of them. Working remotely is one of them. But like Trish said, reading and listening to podcasts. I really think that that is the key to keeping the mind focused on whatever it is that you want to achieve. When you're driving to work and you're listening to a podcast, you're going to get ideas for how you can make this happen. So anytime that someone writes in, they say, what should I do? Really studying financial independence. There's a movement called FIRE, F-I-R-E, Financial Independence, Retire Early. This is a strategy where people save like they live off of 25% of what they make, or they save 75% of what they make to accelerate their retirement plan. That's a strategy. But I think that even studying those things, you can pull nuggets from them to apply to you. On our Amazon page, we have an entire reading list. There's some money-related books on there. Read, listen, and be I was going to just say, be okay with the fact that it might take 2 years. It might take 5 years. Think about what you were doing 2 to 5 years ago. We just recently recorded a podcast called What to Consider Before Jumping into Change, and we'll link to that there, and we'll link it down below. That's a good podcast. If we just kind of have, it's a 53-minute casual conversation between you and I of all the things that we considered before changing. So if you're looking for even more content, then listen to that next.
Yes.
All right.
I love it.
You want to do a quick lightning round?
Yeah.
And then we'll come back here for a bonus question.
What kind of brand is this? You want to stand in here with me?
You want to do the lightning round inside there?
Yeah.
Okay, we're over here in Kings Beach for the lightning round. We want to talk about how do we stay fit on the road? How do we choose our route? What about holidays and friends? What else is on the list? How many hours of footage? What about the Summer to Remember shirts? Cody, congratulations on your wedding. What if you missed the hats and Europe, and where does Charlie sleep?
How was your sleep, Charlie? Pretty good.
That's it.
Wow, that's good.
Trish, how do we stay fit on the road?
Sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we pay attention to what we're eating, we exercise, and sometimes I find a bakery and I'm like, I never want to leave. Red Barn Bakery in Maine. It stays with me. It's in my heart and my brain.
That's true. We just gonna eat them all right here in the car in the parking lot?
Isn't that a given? We're tasting all of these.
The thing is, if we come home with these, the kids would just eat them.
Oh, wow.
What, are you taking one bite of everything?
Yes!
So when we do work out, it's usually a body weight workout, leveraging like picnic tables and kettlebells and things like this. But as you've heard us say before, you can't outchase a bad diet, so nutrition has a lot to do with that. And because we get this question so much, we are contemplating creating a program specifically to do collectively with the KYD community. So we'd love your feedback if you would be into that.
Yes.
All right, how do we pick our route, Trish?
We put big rocks in first. If we know a date or an event, like when we knew the air show was coming, we said we have to be here by this date.
Carson School
Tori. Starts. Victoria's gonna come out to like Florida or something, and then we start either meandering and waiting for that event to happen, or we like zoom right there. But really we put those big rocks in first, and we try to get like pieces of information from our kids, like where do you want to go, what do you want to see. The whole reason we went to the Lumberjack Festival last year was because of Carson.
That's
we said, what do you want to do? He says, I want to go to a Lumberjack Festival. I was like, where did that come from?
Crazy.
But okay, let's do it.
We've been using RV Trip Wizard a lot more than we used to. Initially, I was kind of reluctant to use apps for that, especially being full time. But I have found it to be really neat because they have every single RV park loaded into the system. So, and we've gotten awesome feedback from people that are planning their trip because, like, planning is half the fun, right?
Yes, it really is.
Holidays and friends. A lot of people want to know how we stay connected with, how we stay connected with our friends and what do we do for holidays. As you know, generally speaking, the channel runs a couple months behind. And because it runs a couple months behind, we're able to come back home at the KYD Cabin around November and spend Thanksgiving and Christmas with our family and just kind of relax. And then the channel catches up. We do our winter content and then take off in the spring. That's been kind of what we've been up to, and that's why the channel runs behind. When the channel runs behind, it also gives us flexibility to keep content better, because sometimes if we don't like something, we have more time. We don't feel like we're always like pressure to create content.
We don't want to push something out that we don't like.
Yeah. So anyhow, I know it frustrates some people that the channel runs a couple months behind, but it really is the way that we're able to put family first, and that's why it's back. All right. How many hours of footage do we collect per video?
Is the screen big enough?
Yeah.
Lots of hours.
I don't know exactly. I do know that we capture a terabyte of footage a month. So that would mean each episode would be like 250 gigs. I also know that it's about 1 hour editing, per 1 minute of footage. So like not a Q&A like this. This is, I would imagine, be easier to edit. But like a travel video might take us about 25 to 30 hours of editing. That usually starts Wednesday night. And then probably another 10 hours of just like YouTube stuff to get it out on Sunday. And that all starts Wednesday to Sunday. So then we travel typically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
And then we also need to capture that footage. So capturing, editing, producing, all of that.
Yeah, it's a lot. But it is a lot of fun too. All right, Summer to Remember. Of course we're doing Summer to Remember shirt. That's our favorite campaign out of the year.
But we're super excited because we're going to put a little twist on it, and we're going to share that with you very soon.
Did we talk about Cody and his wedding? Congratulations again. Okay, so what if you missed the hats? If you missed the hats, you can go to keepyourdaydream.com/hat, and you'll see a little link to put your name on email list. We're gonna make one more order, and then get those out so you just get in. We're not gonna make a big deal about it on the channel.
This really was a question. People asked this question many times, so that's why we're bringing it up.
We got a lot of questions about Europe.
Which was surprising.
It is surprising.
So when we say it's surprising, because when we do something just a little bit different, usually we get emails like, what are you doing? Get back in your rig. Don't go to New Zealand. Stay over here.
And then we get an email 2 weeks later saying, hey, this was better than I thought.
I kind of liked it.
If there's one thing about KYD is if you don't like it, you don't have to wait very long because it'll change again. Okay, we would like to answer the question. We would like to RV in Switzerland. We would like to RV in Italy. We'd like to RV in Australia. We'd like to RV in a lot more places than that, but these are the 3 countries.
Places we have on our mind.
So anyhow, that's it. Those are the lightning round questions. Let's hop back over to the East Shore over there for our bonus question. Quick bonus question, because if you've made it this far,
why not?
Why not? Okay, so what's the future of KYD? Trish?
Well, we don't have a crystal ball.
No.
So we don't know the future, but we know what we enjoy working on. And what we enjoy working on is helping people see their dreams in a new way, how to unwrap what their current situation is, figure out what the core is of their dream, and take steps towards that.
Which is why you started the podcast in the first place. We never set out to go create a YouTube channel about RVing and that type of stuff. For all intents and purposes, we achieved what we set out to go do in the first year or two.
Which was to go on a trip with our family.
And to connect with our family and to get the benefits from that, which we feel like we got. Then we started getting emails that would say something like, I saw your videos, we've been looking for an RV for 3 years, we saw your video about no perfect RV, start small, start now, we bought what we could afford, and we've been on the road now for a year, I just want to thank you. So emails like that and a lot more emotional emails come in every day that keep us going and keep us focused on that. So the future of KYD is really creating programs and content and ideas that are going to help people live a very deliberate life.
Yeah, that's why we want to make sure that people don't get wrapped up in, oh, this is my perfect RV. Well, there is no such thing. It's, are you getting out? Are you making memories with the people that are most important to you? And however you do that, if it's putting a tent in the back of your car and driving up somewhere, someone took a picture last year. She was like, I've always wanted to see Banff. I'm like, why am I not seeing it? She put a tent in her back of her car and she drove up and she tented it. I was like, wow, that's awesome. That's like being deliberate. And I think that's what Mark's getting at. It's just being deliberate with the way you live, and we get really pumped hearing that other people are doing that. And that's kind of the realm we love living in.
And we love creating a community that's positive and supporting other people.
Yes.
And so, so we don't exactly know what KYD is going to be 5 or 10 years from now, but we do know that it'll always be a positive community that's going to help people be deliberate and live a great life and provide that type of information and content.
Right.
All right, so that was a long Q&A. And like we said before, if you haven't heard the latest podcast, What to Consider Before Jumping Into Change, check that out. And then down below are links to other resources. Like I said, our Amazon page with our reading list.
Reading, Audible, listening. We spend a lot of time, dead time. You fill it up with Audible or with reading or anything like that, a podcast, and man, your learning can go through the roof.
And other than that, we're going to now head down through Sacramento, down through Big Sur, and then meet up with a couple in Anza, Borrego for a trip before we're back in Arizona.
I'm glad you said that name, because I think I've messed it up every single time. But I guess there's some metal sculptures in the middle of the desert, and we're pretty excited to go see them.
Okay, that is it for now. We'll see you next Sunday. Hope you enjoyed the video, and talk to you later.
Bye! here 2 nights? We could go hike around Pfeiffer?
I
don't know.
I don't know. Let's look at our calendar, but I might be cool with that.
Hey, my favorite thing, mosquitoes and hiking.